Okay, I'd like to call to order this Committee of the Whole meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores. Welcome, everybody. The first item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest, and I'll ask any member if they have a pecuniary interest with anything on the agenda they'd like to declare. Seeing none, of course you can declare one anytime if you need to. Next is additions, deletions, or amendments. We don't have any of those. We do not have any open forum, and so we have 3 delegations this evening. I'll just remind the delegations before we get started, of course, that our delegations are 10 minutes in length. And so if you do happen to get up against the 10-minute mark, then I'll just give you a gentle reminder at that point and ask you to wrap it up. But I'm sure that won't happen. So with that, I will call our first delegation, and it's Tracy Murray from the Southampton Hospital Foundation. And she's here to talk to us about the Grand Fondo event. Welcome, Tracy.
Can you hear me? Good. All right. So thank you for inviting the Foundation to speak to Council this evening. We just wanted to come forward and sort of talk about Grand Fondo and some other projects that we have going on in the community this year. So as you can see, our goals this year for 2019 and beyond are to create some fundraising opportunities that are fun and offer an experience for the community and give something back to the people of our community. We're also looking with our rapidly growing community to engage young families and youth and give them the mindset of giving back, give where you live, and give and fundraise within your own community. We're also looking to create community partnerships with local businesses, in particular local small businesses that we haven't worked with before that maybe didn't have an opportunity to step up to events like Grand Fondo where sponsorship starts at $1,000, and that's not a comfortable level for a smaller business owner. And lastly, we're also looking to encourage and promote those third-party fundraisers, whether it be kids and people in the community doing bake sales or local businesses such as the Southampton Olive Oil Company is doing their Eat Alley. The Rotary is a huge sponsor of the foundation, doing the Huron Shore Run. These type of events not only benefit the foundation, but they benefit our community and give something back to our members of community. So I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with the Grand Fondo. This year it returns for our second annual event. I just brought a few little statistics so you can kind of see where we're at. I can actually update you. This was created May 4th when I handed it in, but as of now, we no longer have 357 registered riders. We are up to 375. And 40 corporate teams. So you can see the most popular routes this year so far are the 70 and 110 kilometer rides, whereas last year it was the 30 and 70. So people are getting a little more adventurous, seeking different routes. And again, these numbers will sort of change and fluctuate as more people register. On the next slide here, I'm just giving you sort of a breakdown of who are those people that are registering to ride. Our biggest groups are the 50 to 59 age category and 60 plus, and followed closely behind that by the 40 to 49-year-olds. And it's almost even split male-female participants at this time. Here you can see the top 10 locations of where our riders are coming from. Toronto has a good chunk of people, but if you look below that, you see our community represented there. We have Port Elgin, Saugeen Shores, Southampton, Owen Sound. We've done some outreach a little further south this year, so we're getting more people from out in the Kincardine area coming this way to participate, which is nice to see. And we actually have a couple participants registered who are coming from the U.S. and PEI. So, and again, these numbers will change. It's early. We're expecting probably anywhere from 800 to 1,000 riders this year. Last year we had 671, and we haven't even kicked off our marketing campaign. That starts in the next 2 weeks, and we're already well ahead of where we were last year, which, when we think about it, has a tremendous impact on our local tourism. Last year, on average, every participant who rode in the Grand Fondo brought with them 2 adult non-participant support people. So really that 800 to 1,000 people becomes 3,000, 4,000 that are dining in our local restaurants, shopping in our local shops, and staying in our hotels and accommodations. Just a quick look at sponsorship. We had a lot of happy sponsors who came back this year. It might be a little hard to see, but the ones in bold are new sponsors this year. A few new nuclear supply companies have come on board. but it's also nice to see we have some local businesses like Brannan Investments and Maples Dental. I know they rode in the event last year. They have a team in again this year, and they liked it so much they became a sponsor this year. So very nice to see. And down at the bottom, you'll see Brubeck. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that name, but that is actually a high-end European athletic clothing manufacturer who was looking to break into the Canadian market. And they chose our local Grand Fondo to start doing that. So they're actually providing some prizing and some great swag for all of our participants. It's quite a hefty sponsorship, and it's nice to see people and corporations coming from outside the local area. So our key messaging for 2019 is going to be fundraising. That is the key. Last year, our focus was just getting the people here. It was the first time running the event, so we were just trying to get the bodies here to experience Bruce County and the event we were offering. This year, it's going to be all about the fundraising. Our goal is $150,000 raised by our riders, and we're actually having very targeted, specific marketing that will be going out to participants that will offer them a visual and emotional connection to the goal and the equipment to be purchased. So they hopefully get the incentive to fundraise even more. And the equipment that we are fundraising for this year is a patient wander safety system, which is the bracelet system you see there. It's primarily worn by individuals who have dementia or Alzheimer's. This allows them a little more independence and freedom while in the care at the hospital rather than being confined to the room or one-on-one care. It's a better quality of life. They can have a little more freedom within the facility without the risk of leaving the hospital. And of course, a portable ultrasound machine, which is a crucial piece of diagnostic equipment, especially in the emerge. It can be used anywhere within the hospital, but most often it is used in the emergency department. We also have all the returning elements of fun. We want to make this a great community event. So again, we're having the catered picnic down by the water after the ride. We've got entertainment, great prizes again this year, and the community is getting involved. We have the church hosting the roast beef dinner, the pasta dinner. So again, expanding this not only to a day event, but a weekend event. People come to register on Saturday, they're staying overnight, they're coming out for the dinners that the community is putting on, and then enjoying the ride the next day. And another aspect of the fun that we're hoping to bring is our celebrity cyclists. And we have a really awesome crew this year, some local people and also people who have come to the area to work with Bruce Power who are now sort of here part-time, but they're really eager to participate in the event again. We asked all of the celebrity cyclists to actually issue a challenge so that we could entice people to put a team in or fundraise. So you'll see Josh Hopkin up there from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. That's not my timer, is it? Oh gosh, it's like the Academy Awards. So we have Josh Hopkin from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, who has challenged local sports teams to put in a team or just do some fundraising and contribute to the event. And Nathan Perot, a former NHL player and firefighter at Bruce Power, has challenged the Saugeen Shores Fire Department to put in a team or do some fundraising. So we're really hoping they'll answer that call, and we'll create some fun press coverage out of that and really get the community involved. So on top of Grand Fondo, we have created some new projects this year, and they sort of speak to the goals that I outlined at the beginning. I'm sure you've heard or seen some posts about the Saugeen Shores Healthcare Lottery that we're doing this year. I can actually update you. That was created last week. So at 3 weeks, we had $10,800 in ticket sales. We are now at 4 weeks, and we have just over $12,500 in ticket sales, which is phenomenal. The community has had lots of positive feedback and support for this project. They're excited about it. The common language I hear when I'm out talking to people is this ours? Is this our hospital? Or it's our community project. So they're really behind it. They like that it's local. And retailers as well are excited. All the retailers that are selling our tickets are very supportive. And how can you help? You can purchase tickets. They make great gifts, as there are 21 draws from now until December. So it's the gift that gives all year long. Word of mouth, you can talk about the lottery and how it supports local health care, and you can share any social media posts you see about the lottery, of course, and we have posters and rack cards we could put out in local businesses. And our other new project this year is our Light the Way Community Calendar project. And again, this speaks to our goals of working with local businesses and the youth in our community. So I'm sure you're familiar with our Light the Way campaign. It runs every year, October to December, and culminates at Radiothon at 98 The Beach in mid-December. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. And this year, our theme is Lighting the Way for the Future of Healthcare. And what is the future of healthcare? Here, it is our growing community. Our expanding community is the future of caring for all these new people coming in to be part of our community and family. It is all the new technology we will need in the months and years to come. And the future of healthcare is also the children that live and work or will grow up here and work someday, perhaps, in the healthcare industry. The future doctors and nurses and technicians right here in our own backyard. So what we're doing with this project is working with GC Houston and Northport Public School. The kids in the classes there will be creating artwork, putting together short clip stories about their experiences at the hospital or the hospital caring for a family member. We'll be using audio clips of those stories during Radiothon. And the artwork and stories will also be used on our website in other marketing campaigns throughout the year. But really, the calendar, the Light the Way calendar, is all about the kids. Each month in the calendar is sponsored by a local business, and because sponsorship for each month was only $300, we were able to reach out to a lot of smaller local businesses who hadn't had the opportunity to really work with the foundation before, and they're very excited. We sold out every month very quickly, as well as the title sponsorship to the calendar. And each month we'll feature that local business person and their business and kids in the photos, and they're going to be fun photos. So I know the town of Saugeen Shores has sponsored the month of July to promote the splash pad, and our very own Mayor Charbonneau has agreed to roll up his pant legs and get out in the splash pad with a bunch of kids and have some water gun fights or water balloon fights, and we'll take some photos for the month of July. So it'll be fun. Hopefully warm when we do it. Yeah, warmer than now, for sure. So that calendar will get unveiled this fall when we kick off our Light the Way campaign, and we'll be selling those as a new fundraiser for the foundation. And last but not least, I am sure you are well aware, GBHS has put in an application to get a CT scanner at the Southampton Hospital. We're just waiting to hear if this application is approved. If it is, this will be a tremendous benefit to our community and hospital. We will use the former lab space, which now sits empty. The renovations are complete, so we have the space for this equipment. It will need some minor renovations to meet regulations to house this type of equipment, but we are there. We're waiting to see if it gets approved. This would be a huge campaign. We'd need to raise approximately $3 million to purchase the equipment, install it, and do the renovations to get up to code for that area. But it would increase service capacity, reduce our wait times, and costs for nurse escort for patients going to get CTs elsewhere, and would also be a very attractive tool for physician recruitment. And that's it for me.
Very good, Tracy. Well, thanks very much. Are there questions or comments from members of the committee? I don't see any. So, well, thank you very much for all the work that you do. I was particularly enjoyed hearing your focus on serving our growing community. I mean, that is one thing that we're pretty preoccupied with around here, and glad to hear that you're preoccupied with it as well. And I know, and this CT scanner is a great addition to that concept of being able to provide those services here in the community that all of those new people, and the people who are already here, are going to need. So yeah, it's an exciting thing, and frankly, it's $3 million, and that's a lot of money. But if there's any organization that I have a lot of confidence in who could achieve that, it's the Hospital Foundation. You guys are pretty exceptional at what you do. So, and I know the community will be behind you. So thank you very much. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm buying a ticket for the lottery, so we're gonna come up and do a picture of that. I don't know, where should we do it? Okay, that moves us now on to our next delegation, which is from Roger Cook from Smart Transit, and he's here to give us a smart update. Roger.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go through a short report here, or at least I won't read through all 6 pages of it, and then we'll have some time for questions. Saugeen Mobility Regional Transit is your local specialized public transit partnership serving the mentally and physically challenged residents of Erin, Elderslie, Brockton, Chatsworth, Hanover, Huron, Kinloss, Kincardine, Saugeen Shores, Southgate, and West Grey. SMART provides safe, dependable transportation solutions to individuals and groups for medical appointments, employment opportunities, shopping, and social outings. Ridership last year totaled just over 36,000 rides, up almost 11% from 2017. There were 26,551 individual rides and 9,469 group excursion rides. User fees total 432,000, up 13% from the year before. SMART currently has a fleet of 27 vehicles and 30 drivers. 3 adapted minivans were added to the fleet in 2018, and 2 9-passenger buses were added in 2017. Currently, user fees are $2 plus 50 cents per kilometer with a $7.50 minimum per ride, which is one of the highest user fees in the province. SMART received $709,844 from the MTO gas tax for transit program in 2018, and approximately $719,000 is expected this year, and that money is just beginning to flow. It is well overdue. SMART received $98,000 in federal public transit infrastructure funding in 2017, which was used primarily to purchase Novus scheduling software from the TripSpark group, which is allowing us to schedule rides more efficiently and track things more accurately. Currently, Saugeen Shores has 244 registered clients. In 2018, clients from Saugeen Shores took 6,114 rides, compared to 6,627 rides in 2017, a decrease of 7.74%. Saugeen Shores' share of the 2019 municipal contribution is $113,984, down from $129,500 in 2018 and $120,177 in 2017. This is strictly due to a decline in ridership. Saugeen Shores' share decreased to 17.27% compared to 20.5 and 19.7 in the years previous. For local taxpayers, SMART represents a tremendous value when compared to other specialized public transit services. SMART serves a population more than 82,000 people, which makes it one of 22 services in the province serving populations of 50 to 150,000. In 2017, our peer services had an average reported operational expenses of $115,350 per vehicle, while SMART had operational expenses of $42,147 per vehicle, about 46% below the average. On average, these 21 peer services received municipal funding for more than 77% of their operating expenses, while SMART received about 41%. Municipal funding for these peer services in 2017 amounted to $10.52 per capita on average, compared to SMART's municipal funding of $7.59 per capita. Compared to its peer group, SMART continues to be chronically underfunded by its municipal partners. This underfunding means that SMART is far more dependent on the gas tax for transit program for operational costs than its peers. The effect of this is that SMART will will now have difficulty purchasing new vehicles since all MTO funding has been committed to operational expenses. For those who use and depend on SMART, this is a service that is highly valued. The service you provide through SMART helps keep the most vulnerable members of your community independent, mobile, and involved. Many studies have shown a direct link between mobility and good health, both physical and mental.
Okay, thanks, Roger. Questions or comments from members of the committee? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Roger.
Good evening.
Thanks for attending and good information. And one of the things was interesting to me you presented tonight was the specialized public transit statistics, the peer group at 50,000 to 150,000. You talked about the 59, which is the other thing that's interesting. I found as a member of the SMART board is, we cover 4,300 square kilometers in the report you handed out last week, and I found that quite interesting. We're by far the largest geographical area in the province of Ontario for all smart transit services. So we do cover a very broad area. One thing I wondered, Roger, if you could, because the report later on in the agenda this evening, talking about the need to replace your request for capital dollars to replace our aging fleet, and added a bit today there, but this service, smart service, started in 1977, so this service has been around a very long time, and I think Saugeen Shore has been around for 6 years, roughly 6-7 years. And I know when I got on the board 2 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of money in the capital reserve fund, dollars in the capital reserve fund for fleet replacement, and there isn't today. And I guess the report later on this evening, I think our Director of Engineering is going to be presenting, talks about capital contribution for municipalities to help with the replacement of fleet. So I have two questions. I guess over the years, there's something since 1977, there really has never been a capital fleet replacement fund established. And you can verify, clarify, speak to that. And I guess why was that not done? I served 2 years on the board and it wasn't done in those 2 years. But again, it's 1977. It's been going on a long time. The second question I have is, you had asked as manager of the SMART board and of this council to contribute financially in 2019 for fleet replacement, and now I think that's been changed to 2020. And if you could just explain why the change and why the lack of capital infrastructure funding, accounts set up over the years, Roger, as best you can.
Well, prior to 2005, I believe it was, in 2005, the province restructured how transit services or specialized transit services were funded. Previous to that, and I wasn't involved, so I don't have any direct knowledge of it, but my understanding is that there was funding from the province, but it essentially flowed right through. I believe it flowed most of the time straight through the town of Hanover and into the organization. It wasn't called Saugeen Mobility at that time. But into the organization for their use. And the board was generally made up of community members versus members of council. In 2005, the province restructured how that money flowed. Instead of flowing straight through, it was added, shall we say, to oomph funding. And then the expectation was that the municipalities who wanted the service would then run it, put the money into it. So there was no direct flow through funding from the province anymore. It all came to the municipalities, for better or worse. And then the gas tax for transit program was started with 2 cents per liter on every liter in the province. So municipalities that don't have any kind of transit system are paying into the gas tax transit program, but not getting anything out of it. That money only flows to communities that have transit systems. That money I think is primarily designed to be the capital reserve account for these systems. It can also be used to fund operational deficits. The problem is, as SMART has grown, the municipal funding has not kept pace, and now this year, 97% of the expected MTO funding has been budgeted for operations, which leaves nothing for contingencies, which we will have, particularly the cost of fuel, and leaves nothing this year for any kind of capital purchases. So we made the request for the $250,000 for this year. for capital funding. Then, literally 2 days after that was sent out to the members, we got word that the infrastructure, Investing in Canada infrastructure program at the federal level, which is likely, nonetheless, the transit stream of that, we were eligible for $563,000 combined federal provincial money, and that money can be spent to 2027. We're obviously planning to spend it quicker than that. Now, we needed that money this year for vehicles. After our meeting on Friday, it appeared that the best course of action was to delay this until the first quarter of next year to begin the projects. It still would be nice to have some money for this year to buy some vehicles, but I don't think that's going to happen. Municipal budgets have been set, and so we're.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, so it's been moved to 2020, which I think municipalities, what I heard from last week, seem to be pleased that it would actually become part of our 2020 budget discussion, and instead of trying to find funds, halfway through a budget year. So that seems to be a favorable decision last week, which was a good thing. And we really have, we're partnering municipality with SMART, so we really have no choice but to replace vehicles. And it's just unfortunate, Mr. Mayor, that over the years there hasn't been a capital reserve set up for fleet replacement. But we can't live in the past, and so we just have to move forward and find the funding to do it. So, anyways, I am pleased to see it's moved to 2020 budget discussions.
Well, and it's going to be spread over 3 years too. Rather than $250,000 this year, it's going to be about $220,000 spread over 3 years. So it'll be the first quarter of 2020, first quarter of 2021, first quarter of 2022.
So the last question I have, Roger, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is but the application deadline will still meet that?
Oh, yes. Yep. The application deadline is May 28th.
So we'll still proceed with that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we have a plan laid out.
Right.
That these are the years that we're going to spend the money. This is how much we're going to spend in each of those years. It's all being done through the town of Hanover. Because of the way the program is structured, the assets we purchase will have to be in the town of Hanover's name. SMART will license them, insure them, maintain them, operate them as though they're our own.
Because the last comment I had, Mr. Mayor, and this is a good news story, is that grant that's where it's due May 28th. The federal government, 40%, province material 33.3%, and municipal contribution 26.67%. So, when you're talking a $550,000 contribution at the two federal provincial levels, and our contribution municipally is $221. Those are good grant dollars. So it's a great way to get our fleet replaced. And I guess the goal here is to have all 8 municipalities on board. Obviously, not much choice.
No, I would say not. Like if we're applying for the program, I think the expectation is that every partner is going to contribute their share.
If the service is to survive and we're a partner, then you have to have an updated fleet.
Exactly. But over the course of the 3 years, I think it's important that the municipalities recognize and the board recognizes that municipal contributions to operating costs have still got to increase. Even though we're getting this money to help out with our capital funding over the next 3 years, municipal contributions are still going to go up, because otherwise we're just draining the capital fund every year. This is our opportunity to rebuild it and get something in place for the future after we're done with this program.
Thank you. Councillor Rich.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So just to be clear, Councillor Matt did ask a specific question. Will you be creating a reserve for a fleet moving forward?
I certainly hope so. I've been telling my board for years that municipal contributions were too low, that we were draining the reserve account. There'd be no money left over for new vehicles, and that's the situation we're in now. We're actually just really lucky that this program has been announced, and we can take advantage of it. But it is important that over the next 3 years, while the federal and provincial governments are contributing to our capital needs, that the municipalities increase their funding for operations so that we're not draining the reserve account again.
Right, and so I understand we need to increase our funding for operations, but we need to budget for this kind of thing, so we're not asked for $43,000 upon occasion just because things haven't worked out in the future, right? So we are going to be putting a reserve fund together in the future, right?
That's certainly my plan. It'll be up to the board, but certainly my recommendation to them is that municipal contributions go up to become more realistic and not be draining the gas tax reserve account as it's been drained.
The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, when you come to the different municipal councils at the beginning of next year, what I would like to see is a 10 to 15 year asset management plan of yours created and presented to us, so we can see what it is that you have, what the lifespan of everything that you have is, what your replacement time cost line is. We have that set up with most of our fleet, and it just allows us to prepare a little more in advance. So when you come to council next year asking for the increase in funds, if you could have your people create that asset management plan to show the next 10 to 15 years of cost replacement, what we need to do, I think that'd go a little better with the different councils, knowing that this is what is going to occur.
I have a 10-year plan now. It's part of our package that's going in on May the 28th. So I can certainly send that along or provide it through each council's representative, what it looks like. The trouble is in our business, because we cover such a large geographic area, we put a lot of miles on vehicles. It's very, very difficult to say how long a vehicle is going to last. We don't have a set kind. Right now, we just make them last as long as we can because we have no money to replace them. So, ideally, what's the ideal replacement? I don't really know. It could be 7, 8 years. Right now, we're making them last 10 because we have to.
I totally agree with you. If you have any questions, the gentleman to your left right there is a fantastic person at creating these plans. He does it with our fleet. So whatever you can do to get that going, I know you can't guesstimate on how long a vehicle will last, but planning on a lifetime, certain amount of years will go a long way with us.
Very good. I'll plan to replace them earlier rather than later, and then it's always nice to get a pleasant surprise when something's lasting longer than we thought.
I think the Vice Deputy Mayor has one more.
I just want to mention one more thing with the smart board. This is the first time since 1977 that I'm aware of that we will be engaging in business plan meetings, strategic planning meeting in June, a full day, taking a look at the operations and providing ourselves, the board, councils, with a clear direction where SMART's heading over the next 5-10 years. And also, are there other options, for example, Grey Bruce county-wide operations where the county operates it rather than town of Hanover accept all the responsibilities. So we're discussing those kinds of things. So we are digging our heels in a little bit here and heading into some strategic planning initiatives, which is a good thing, Roger.
Yeah, it should be a good thing, yes. And while we're just touching on the county issue, I do strongly recommend that Bruce County seriously look at moving SMART up to the county level. There were 5 of 8 municipalities are involved now, and certainly the largest municipalities in Bruce County are involved now. And it would certainly provide more equitable service to everyone in the county, help to level out some of the funding issues. But I cannot recommend it more strongly to take a serious look at that.
The CAO has a comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Mayor, staff will work with Mr. Cook and the council representatives to make sure that the request for 2020 is part of our budget package, and we'll have more fulsome discussions during our budget deliberations.
That sounds good. If there's nothing further, thank you very much, Mr. Cook.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then that takes us on to our final delegation, which is from Catherine McKinnon and Heather Mackenzie Card from Fanshawe College. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for allowing us to be here tonight to speak. Catherine is just handing out some information around programming, but specifically the program I would like to talk to you about for Saugeen Shores, and some ideas that Jessica and I have been talking about, and we've been having some conversations. So again, I just want to thank everyone. So as most people know, Fanshawe College is in London, but our focus is Huron and Bruce. So we have sites regionally in Huron and Bruce. So I can talk a little bit about the history. I could be here all night, so I'm not going to bore you with the history of Huron and Bruce sites, but I am going to just do some review of kind of regional sites and rural communities and how they can be serviced by post-secondary institutions. So I'll talk a little bit first just about Fanshawe College was established in a partnership with REACH in Central Huron, which was the beginning of programming for our Huron and Bruce sites. I actually pulled up our very first news release, so it was interesting to read that from back in 2012. I was hired by Fanshawe College in 2015. Previous to that, I had worked at another community college in KW, so you can guess where I might have been. Programming, again, for us continues to grow, and it provides kind of that post-secondary, some education and foundations for communities. So as you can see, we provide programming in Kincardine, Tiverton, Stratford, Clinton, Goderich, and Walkerton. Over the past 3 years, we've had 5,137 students that have taken individual courses in our Huron and Bruce sites alone. So to me, that's an impact in our communities. It tells us that upgrading is important and people getting into programming and courses is an important piece of us moving forward in our rural communities. I can talk about rural communities. I was born in Kincardine, and I really believe it's important that we have this opportunity because when I was, in my post-secondary years, I had to move away. So again, for students that want to have that option, it's a great choice. Last year we had 118 graduates in October from our Huron and Bruce sites, and this year our graduation is planned for October 29th, and so we're rotating where our graduations are being hosted because we have such a large geographical area. So this year it'll be in Goderich, last year it was in Clinton, so probably in the year after that we'll be looking at a place in Bruce County to host it. You'll see the picture in that particular PowerPoint. It's actually our project management students that graduated actually from Saugeen First Nations. They completed that program 2 years ago, and we provided that training on reserve, and it was a great program because they didn't have to leave the community. We were able to upskill a number, I think there was 10 graduates in total in that program, so it was a very positive experience for everybody. The program I want to talk to you about today is the Business Entrepreneurship and Management Program. So as we know that you see the world of limitless business potential in Saugeen Shores, I've been told many times that Saugeen Shores is the fastest growing community in Bruce County, and I think that's a really good opportunity for people who need entrepreneurial skills. We know my husband works at Bruce Power, so I'm well aware of the large component replacement that's going to be happening. He's a millwright and works in maintenance, and so he has that conversation with me all the time about, it's one thing to have workers, but we also need to have things for people to do, opportunities for people to have. So our BM program, in the package, you'll see it's a double-sided piece of paper that I put in there for everybody to see. It gives you kind of an overview of the program. So the real kind of meats and potatoes of this program is around business skills, supporting people in the program around mentorship. So in this program, we actually reach out to supporting mentors in the community. So other business people that are out there, students are needing some specific skill sets that they're wanting. So it's an opportunity actually in their last term to do mentorship. So again, it's a way to create innovation, not only for self-employed, but also for employees, for potential employees, to acquire key business management skills for local employers and to start their own businesses. So again, the course provides students first with the first year business courses. So if they went to Fanshawe in London, Simcoe, St. Thomas, Woodstock, and they were taking a business course, typically we're doing the same types of business courses. So it's allowing students then to ladder if they choose to. So a student could finish in Saugeen Shores and maybe they decide they want to specialize in marketing, then those courses are transferable into other programs. And there's lots of online options as well for students in this specialization side of it. So I think that's a great thing for students. I believe laddering is an important piece for post-secondary, and we need to do more of that. The program specializes again in supporting that entrepreneurship and innovation skills. So how would we do that? So live streaming is something that we have been doing in other communities, and it's not new to post-secondary in the college system, especially in the rural and remote communities. So it allows students the opportunity to be engaged in their own community, and we work in partnership with Contact North, who provide streaming services and computer and IT support to us wherever we are. So it's worked really well, and currently we have students in Clinton, who are in the ECE program, and we're live streaming actually to Walkerton because the County of Bruce had come to us and asked us, there is a real need to have ECEs in that community, and so we're utilizing a school space in Walkerton. So that's one example of a live classroom, as I like to call them. We do the same thing in Stratford. So Clinton has our personal support worker program. We live stream that program to Stratford, and we also have live streamed it to Kincardine, usually utilizing, in that case, a live classroom again, so long-term care facility or, again, with the ECE program school. So why? Again, access to higher education is widely recognized as an important driver to economic prosperity, both for the student and the community. So we know that when we upskill people's skill sets, that means that they have more money to spend in their community, which then means that it's a good thing for everyone. There's been a lot of studies recently that talk about rural connection to post-secondary and how important it is to have that link. So again, it provides students access to post-secondary who are underrepresented. There's a lot of people that don't have the ability to leave Port Elgin, don't have the ability to leave Southampton or Kincardine, and having access to post-secondary education is an important piece. Successful completion of a college credential can again enable an individual to move from a challenging social economical outlook to being more independent, and we've seen that time and time again. I'll give you an example. There's students that have come to me and said, you know what, if I wasn't able to do this program locally, I never would have been able to get to where I am now. So it's great to see them when you're out and about at the grocery store and they come to you and tell you that. So it's positive. Again, with connection to both industry and communities, colleges are providing vital opportunities for students across Canada who may never envision post-secondary career. So I think we often enough, sometimes we assume that everyone has access to post-secondary education, but that's not necessarily the case. With some of the cuts coming, it's even harder for students to be able to do that. So our ask is we're trying to become more creative in the ideas to solve those rural attraction and attainment. We need to provide local community college program, again, to meet the labor market shortages. And per student costs, again, continue to rise along with the decrease in funding. So the current government just announced a 10% decrease in tuition, but that tuition decrease does not get made up anywhere else in the system outside of the colleges figuring out themselves. So I think that's an important piece for people to understand, that's kind of how that works. So our ask to council this evening is I've been in conversations around utilizing the fire hall space coming up in September. And our ask is if Venture College is an in-kind contribution with a fee waived for a year to allow the college to build capacity and partnership in Saugeen Shores to move the business entrepreneurship program forward. Again, I see it as a great value. We have access to our IT support. I know we've got great internet connection. That's the biggest thing. So that's our ask for tonight. I'll just talk a little bit about next steps for us. So again, to be able to have live streaming our business entrepreneurship and management program in partnership with the town of Goderich. So I have talked to the mayor of the town of Goderich. He's really excited about this being an opportunity for both communities. What I did actually in Kincardine is I split our teachers' time. So one course was taught in Kincardine and one course was taught in Clinton. So it allowed us then to be able to have teachers on both sides. I think I'm moving around here, sorry. Again, I talked about it. It's providing an economic driver. It provides access to the community to post-secondary training locally. It gives those in the community the opportunity to upskill without having to leave Saugeen Shores and support those unrepresented individuals in our communities. Currently, these are some of the partnerships that we've worked with over the last few years since I've started working at Fanshawe College. So SIFTO, which is in Goderich, the town of Goderich, Westcast Industries, which is in Wingham, Bruce Power. Again, we do the apprenticeship training for them at site, both Cape Corcoran and Saugeen. So I will be talking to Saugeen as well if we can move this forward and have some conversations about if we can look at some individuals who would be interested in that as well. CUSW and again the County of Bruce are a few of the different industries specifically that we've worked with around training locally. So again, here in Bruce, just talking a neat little project we're working on right now too is a culinary techniques and management program. So that program actually is going to happen at a large resort in Grand Bend. We're bringing 14 international students to come into that program. And so the intent of those international students is that they're going to graduate from the program and they're going to then be able to have employment here. Their end goal really is to get a work permit to stay in Canada. So that is a really nice way to bring in the talent that we're looking for in some of the industries that are struggling to meet the needs. Again, site locations. I talked about the live streaming and kind of our plans to move forward here in Saugeen Shores. Any questions?
Thanks very much. Just before I take questions, just a process comment. Likely what we'll do, what we usually do when we receive a request is from a delegation is we'll refer it to our staff for a recommendation back to council. So that's where we'll end up here tonight, and I'm sure that I know staff have been talking to you and working with you and are in the process of preparing those recommendations. Just wanted to be clear about that before we start the questions, but I'm sure there will be questions, and we'll start over here with the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you for the presentation. I think I've listened to 3 or 4 presentations you've told us about Fanshawe College this year. My son is currently going to be registered in one of your new programs, the Millwright program, starting in September out at Tiverton. It's time that Saugeen Shores was able to bring one of the schools into town. What you were saying about the laddering and allowing kids to be able to, that normally wouldn't go away, giving them the opportunity is fantastic. I had the opportunity to teach the BDI 3C grade 11 entrepreneurship program this year. I know most schools have it going. The grade 12 program is going. A lot of students take that because business is an area that they want to get into, but it's hard for them to go away for it. So offering something here that they'll be able to ladder into one of the other colleges at a later point and having the mentoring program is a fantastic opportunity. So I just want to say thank you for bringing that to us. I hope to see us continue and grow over the upcoming years, and if there's anything we can do, just let us know.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions from members? Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Nice to see you again, Heather. And,
yes, good to see you.
And I too really appreciate everything that you're doing and Fanshawe is doing. And it is about time we have a campus or a location where people can go to school, post-secondary, right here in Saugeen Shores. And I certainly will be supporting whatever comes back from our staff. And if it doesn't happen to be the fire hall, I'm sure we can find some other place. But the question would be: is this a full-time program you're looking at? So these people need to be there, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week?
Yeah, good question, actually. Yeah, so it is a full-time post-secondary program. So students would be in class probably 4 days a week. So it's 3 terms. Students would be in class, and it's a diploma program. So it's a condensed program, which I think is important because entrepreneurs want to get done soon because they want to start their business or they want to start moving forward with whatever that may be. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So that's why we initially this program was 4 terms, but we've actually condensed it so students can get done faster. So.
And just as a follow-up, do you envision this being for the likes of Councillor or Deputy Mayor Matheson's students who are coming out of grade 12, or do you see mature students signing up for this as well?
So we've done the program in Goderich before, and it's a mix. So we see students who are coming, and it's interesting because one of our students in Goderich, she's my age, she's 51, and she said to me, I could never figure out why I couldn't keep a job. And I looked at her and I said, what do you mean by that? Well, finally, when I went in this program, I realized I'm an entrepreneur. Because every time I went into a workplace, I would criticize why that wouldn't work or why they should do it this way. So it's it's definitely, we had direct from high school, we had, second career. So it really was a variety of students, which is actually kind of a nice makeup in post-secondary because they learn a lot from each other. Everybody has a different perspective of what entrepreneurship is and what it looks like. So, thank you.
Further questions or comments? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, thanks for your presentation, Heather. It would be a great opportunity for Saugeen Shores to see Fanshawe College come in. The question I have is dealing with long term.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see? What are you thinking long term? Like I see the 1 year program and offering space, and I just wondering what the goal would be on a long term basis. I'm just thinking about helping. The high school program have a wonderful carpentry program. They've done a music shelter, and they're right now working at Westlink with framing houses. And you've talked to builders with carpenters and plumbers, electricians, carpenters,
yep.
framers.
So,
it's hard. So what's the long term?
So again, if in Tiverton we offer electrical techniques program, we offer a millwright program and a welding program. With the local UBC Local 2222 opening, we're actually going to be utilizing their space for a carpentry program starting in September as well. So our intent is, again, I always like to use Clinton as an example. When I started in Clinton, we had one part-time program. Now we're offering, there's 7 full-time post-secondary programs since 2015. So and I always say programming should change because labor market changes and community changes. So you may have a program that runs for 5 years and you realize, this isn't the skill sets that we need any longer in the community. So the ability to kind of come to the community and make those changes, I think, are really important. Right. And that's why we've had success with the Clinton and the Goderich sites and the things that we're doing in Kincardine. We've had we haven't moved into that space in Kincardine yet, so we will be in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that, and there will be a large open house, and Fanshawe will be present. And so I think that's an important piece. And it's the same for us feeling Saugeen Shores. I think there's certainly some other programs that could be offered here, and what they look like really is stuff that I get from employers, phone calls I get from employers, municipal government, the County of Bruce also, lets us know what's happening. So those are all things that we consider. So we never say never because when we talk about live classrooms and the live streaming, really the opportunities are endless. So
okay. Wonderful opportunity.
Further questions? I think it's clear, and I think that's right. There's a huge amount of opportunity here for an expansion in post-secondary presence in Saugeen Shores. Late last week, I had dinner with the president of Ontario Tech University in Southampton, talking about their desire to increase their presence in our region. And a week ago tonight, I had dinner with representatives from the University of Strathclyde and Glasgow here, working with Bruce Power, who also signed an agreement to enhance their presence in our region through the Nuclear Innovation Institute. There seems to be a growing amount of interest from post-secondary educators to be present here because there's a lot to do here and a lot of opportunity, and all of that creates an opportunity for us to have those folks like you here in our community educating our children so that they can stay in our community and get that education. So I think that's very exciting, and I think also your concept of a bit of an in-kind partnership for a year's time to help you get your feet onto you and start getting some students going and get that cash flow going, which is critical because you don't get a lot of cash from anywhere else except those students, so you'll need them. I think that has a lot of merit. So I'm looking forward to seeing this recommendation come forward from our staff, and hopefully we can get you on the ground and working in Saugeen Shores. So,
a number of information sessions in the community, so
that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. The Deputy Mayor, sorry.
One last question. Will this be a day course, or will it be like the
It will be, this is a daytime course.
Daytime, not the evening?
Yes, no, that's right.
Because Fanshawe has the wonderful ability for the millwright, welding, and electrical. They're offering it in the evening for students who have difficulty getting to school during the days, and it's a fantastic program.
Yeah, and we use that space. Again, it's about community needs. Bruce Power uses that space during the daytime, so we use that space in the evening. So and we've had a good relationship with Bruce Fire and PWU, so we've been lucky.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
So that moves us on. We have no public meetings this evening, so it moves us on to report of municipal officers and committees and general government report, staff report on surplus land at 536 Eckford Avenue, and the clerk has the report. The clerk.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. So the town has received an application from Mr. and Mrs. Cruz to purchase the unopened section of the Eckford Avenue road allowance abutting their property located at 536 Eckford Avenue. So prior to selling the land, the town is required to complete the declaration of surplus land and road closure process in accordance with the established procedures. The unopened road allowance is located on the west side of Eckford Avenue between the traveled road allowance and the privately owned properties. The unopened road allowance prevents the privately owned property from having legal frontage onto the open and maintained Eckford Avenue. The report does highlight the procedure for the road closing. So if this moves forward, once the land survey and public notice processes are complete, a report and bylaw will be presented to council for final approval.
Thank you. So I'll read the recommendation, then we can take questions. It's recommended that council declares surplus to the municipality's needs and gives notice of council's intention to pass a bylaw to close and sell the unopened section of Eckford Avenue located adjacent to 536 Eckford Avenue. Questions or comments from members of the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. That moves us then on to 7.3, the infrastructure and development reports. And the first one is a staff report on 2019 Economic Development Incentives Program, and the director has the report. The director.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Jay's done a great job of carrying forward the CIP program from last year to try to meet those needs from the industry, as well as updating to include the priorities that we have seen from this year. The two hotel projects from last year were expected to see, or who were expecting to receive a grant didn't get their building permits in. They're expecting to start building in the next couple weeks or to a month, so we believe that they'll be back in looking for the same contribution as last year. On top of that, we've heard from the Affordable Housing Group that there is interest in a program such as this that we are presenting here today. So new for 2019, we're proposing to increase the DC rebate from 50% to 100%. We're looking to allow town property tax rebates for up to 5 years, and also to have rebates on some of the town fees. These incentives would be for a building that would have 5 or more new affordable units that were below rents marketed at $735 or $953, or the sale of freehold houses below the sale price of $300,000. We're also looking at incenting hotels of 50 rooms or more, some manufacturing industry or nuclear support offices. Each recipient would enter into an agreement with the town to ensure compliance. Staff would monitor rents over the 5-year period. We also want to note that if the uptake in the program exceeds the $250,000 that we've asked for, staff will come back to council for further direction.
Thank you. I'll read the recommendation. We can take questions. It's recommended that council adopt the 2019 Economic Development Incentives Program and that council reallocate the 2018 Unspent Development Charges Grant in Lieu Program of $249,999 from the Future Capital Reserve to be spent on the 2019 Economic Development Incentive Program. Questions or comments from members of the committee? Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, when I read the report, obviously I think it's a great idea. We have to do something to encourage developers to develop affordable housing. I commend you and your staff for putting this together. I'm just a little fuzzy on the granting program. I understand if a developer comes forth and says they're going to build a hotel over 50 rooms, or they're going to build rental accommodations or freeholds in a certain category, that they will get rebates on their taxes or holidays from paying taxes or development fees. But are we actually going to be granting them real dollars, or is it just we're not going to be collecting off of them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what happens is they don't pay us those fees, but the town has to do a transfer between this fund and where that account would normally be. So for example, if we waive the building permit fee, then the future capital reserve would be writing a check to the building department. Same with those landfill tipping fees or the DCs. Though all those fees and like the development charges reserve, they can't be waived. They have to be reallocated from somewhere. So that's where these fees would go.
Okay, so it's more of an internal transfer than it is us writing a developer a check to go out and do those things.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Further questions from members? Vice Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Amanda, just wondering, it's great to see the 5 or more affordable housing units. That's a real positive for our community, and there's obviously a real need. And when I take a look at the rents of $735 for 1 bedroom and $953 for 2, rents have, some of these new developments, rents have, jumped into the $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 per month. So rents aren't necessarily cheap in this community. So this is a good news story. You mentioned about the 5-year period, Amanda. What happens after the 5-year review, to make sure that the rents are being held in line? So that's being watched. What happens after 5 years?
Mr. Mayor, we don't have any plans for what happened after 5 years. We would give them this grant for for 5 years, and at that end, at 5 years, it would be up to them as to how they proceeded.
They're still governed by rent rules, anyways. I'm assuming. I mean, they still have to go by the regulations in terms of what they can increase rents by. I'm sure.
I would assume all applicable law. I don't know that well enough what that would mean, though.
Okay. Anyways, this is something I'll certainly be supporting, and when I see 5 or more affordable housing units in particular, is anybody on the borderline thinking whether or not they're going to do something, but there's help on the way? I think this is a good news story for that type of housing.
Further comments or questions from members? Councillor Mayette?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again, and through you also. I saw the 1-bedroom apartment grant, or the level, and the 2-bedroom apartment, and the average rents. And I was curious to know why bachelor apartments weren't included in that. I mean, when we talk about micro housing and the tiny house movement and those types of things, certainly in the major centers where I lived as a single person when I first got kicked out of home, was in a bachelor apartment, right? Because that was the most affordable thing for a single person. It doesn't have to have a separate bedroom. It has to have a bathroom, kitchenette, and I would think that would be an attractable mode of accommodation that a developer might look for, and it might fit into this program as well.
Thank you. And through you, we just didn't have numbers on bachelors in order what the definition of affordable would be. We had these 2 numbers for 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, so it's easy to move forward. We would need to research what the below market value for a bachelor would be to add it to the program.
If a developer was to come forward, we could look at including them. If there was, you could imagine what the price point would be if the 1 bedroom is in that $750 range, and the bachelor would be somewhere around $600, I would think, right?
Yeah. Through Mr. Mayor, absolutely. If an application came in like that, we would take it, try to find the answer, and then because it's outside the scope, we would bring it back to you for approval.
Any further questions or comments? This all, of course, stems from the community improvement plan that we passed, which enables us to take these actions to incentivize these kind of desirable developments that we want to see in the municipality. My question, Amanda, is, I mean, we still have the $250,000 from 2018, meaning we didn't spend any of it since we created the program. And I just wonder, does the administration have plans or is there a higher level of degree of confidence in 2019 that we will, in fact, manage to incentivize some actual developments with this funding? Because we haven't incentivized any as of yet. At least it doesn't look like we have. Is there some change in approach, or perhaps a change in environment, which is making us think that this is going to do what we're wanting it to do?
Thank you, and through you, back to you. The 2 hotels just didn't do the building permits because of the time of year when they were ready to construct. It's not the ideal time to start in the winter. So we do expect them to be back and looking for their money. We've also had people coming in that are doing 5 or more units that are asking about this, and we've been saying just hold off. We're bringing it to council. When we've got it to council, we'll let you know that it's available. So I do expect to see 3 applications in the near future.
Good, thank you. I do hope that we actually see some traction with this one. It's a good program, and I hope our developers take us up on it. So you've heard the recommendation, and I'll ask all in favor. That's carried. Okay, so that moves us then on to the second infrastructure and development staff report on the sidewalk patio encroachment for Outlaw Brew Pub. And the director has a report. The director.
Thank you, and through you, the Outlaw Brew Pub wishes to have a patio encroachment on the High Street sidewalk. We believe this to be fitting, and I've heard from the BAA a number of times that they would love to see more people out in the nightlife, so we would like to support this initiative. What we do ask, though, is that the Outlaw maintain 2 meters of clear walking space between street furniture and the patio itself to not impede traffic at that intersection, pedestrian traffic.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation, and it is recommended that Council pass a bylaw to authorize an encroachment agreement with 2419711 Ontario Limited to install and operate a sidewalk patio at 196 High Street. Questions or comments from committee members? We'll start with Councillor Rich.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to reiterate, there's been a lot of conversation with the Southampton BIA, and there's been nothing but positive comments and lots of support.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question: is what's been proposed for this sidewalk patio? Is it on the land that belongs to the Outlaw, or is it on town land?
Mr. Mayor, it is on town land, so it's different than the Chesters, if that's what you were thinking of. That's why we need to go into this sidewalk. Yeah, exactly.
And a number of years ago, the town established a policy for managing these types of encroachments onto municipal land in order to enable this very thing to take place. And that was the intention of us doing that, and it's good to see some restaurants, more restaurants doing it. So, but yes, it's as a result of our enabling this a number of years ago. Are there further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, so that moves us on to, we have no community services or protective services, so we're communications, petitions for committee of the whole action, and we do have one petition from the municipality of South Bruce Peninsula requesting are asking if the town of Saugeen Shores would be interested in providing policing services to the town of South Bruce Peninsula, and asking for a response from this council to that request. My recommendation to council would be to refer this matter to the Police Services Board and ask the Police Services Board for its recommendation on whether or not we ought to respond in the affirmative to this request, and whether we ought to pursue what would in effect be a police costing to extend the Saugeen Shores Police Service into South Bruce Peninsula. So that would be my recommendation, but I'd ask for questions or comments from members of the committee with regard to that. We would have to do that by resolution. Councillor Rich.
Yes, serious, Mr. Mayor. I went back through my notes, but I couldn't find it. Did we have this request or receive this request 2 or 3 years ago?
We have received a request from South Bruce Peninsula to look at providing policing services there. It was dealt with largely at the Police Services Board level at that time, and it didn't go anywhere, but we have had some change in personnel at the police service, and I think it would be an ideal opportunity. As you know, this is come to us as a result of a conversation that I had at the County of Bruce with my colleagues there, and so my own personal view is that having our board take another look at this to see if they could provide adequate and effective policing for Saugeen Shores in a situation where we were also policing South Bruce Peninsula, and in a way which provided benefit to the taxpayer of Saugeen Shores. I think that should be our bottom line fundamentally, that anything we do ought to lead to an improved level of service or funding reductions or both for taxpayers of Saugeen Shores. but I think it's worth looking at, and so that's why I suggest having the board take a look at it. Councillor Rich.
So, am I correct? Do you need a motion? Do you need someone to provide that motion?
We would need a motion to refer to the Police Services Board.
I'll make that motion.
So it's been moved by Councillor Rich. We refer this to the Police Services Board, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Is there any further discussion now that we have the resolution? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Okay. So that moves us on to 7.7, communications and petitions for committee of the whole information. And there are 6 items there. Anyone care to comment or question on any of those? Seeing none, then that moves us on to reports of department head. Oh, sorry, pardon me. Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was looking at the operational report of the smart transit. Now I know we've heard a lot about smart transit already tonight, and this report I think is specifically about what we were talking about in the capital shortfalls. And I just wanted to make a point while it's fresh in everybody's mind that the capital money that's been granted to SMART for the purchase of their new vehicles came out of the gas funding. And about 3 weeks ago we were here and we were talking about the use of our gas funding. And I think that using it for infrastructure and transit and things like that is the intent of the gas funding. Now we have unfortunately sold ourselves a little bit short because we took that $400 and some odd thousand that was granted to us in gas funding, which we could have used to make up this shortfall with Smart Transit. We've allocated it inappropriately to water project. So just thought I'd make that point that this is how we get into these situations where we inappropriately allocate funds from one specific fund and use it for something that it's not intended to, and eventually that might come back to bite you, which it appears to have done here. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's incorrect to state that Council's decision to move it was inappropriate. Council's decision was legal and appropriate, and so I just think that I'd ask the member to perhaps soften his language on that point.
Okay, inappropriate may have not been the appropriate word, but I think that the intent of gas tax funding is to be used for infrastructure type projects, not for operational projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? So that moves us then on to reports of department heads, and the first one is an information report on Spring Clean Week. The director's not here. Is there any comments from members on any of that? No. Then the next report is on the Port Elgin waterfront revitalization, and the CAO has some comments. The CAO.
Yeah, I'll just be brief and through you, Mr. Mayor. This is just an information report for council, that a reminder that we had an RFP to redevelop the Port Elgin waterfront, and we received a submission that met all of our requirements, so we are working with the proponents of that. And I just wanted to remind council that there will be a number of check-ins and approval by council as this project progresses, at least 3, probably 4, so you have lots of opportunity to be involved in the approvals as each stage comes through. So that's, I think, something that some of you have expressed some concern over, and our next step, we're meeting again this week to develop a memorandum of understanding, which we'll bring back to council for your approval.
Questions from members on this information report? I think we're all very much looking forward to seeing the next steps on that. The next item is the information report on the SMART funding request. We've heard tonight that SMART is deferring this funding request to the 2020 budget. So I don't know if there's anything further anybody would like to say at this stage, or if we'll wait till 2020 to continue our discussion on that. So that brings us to the end of the agenda, so we'll ask for announcements from members. The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just a couple quick ones. This week, for the next 2 weeks at Saugeen District Secondary School, they will be having an e-waste collection service. You have any old or used electronic devices and old used clothing that will be used for rags. If you have that and you want to take it to the bin, the Student Council of Saugeen District is raising money to help purchase 2 oxygen testers for the emergency department at Saugeen Memorial Hospital. So any goods that you have will be greatly received and thoughtfully applied there. The bin is at the back of the parking lot. Just follow the signs as you drive in. And going along with our Fanshawe report, our students at Saugeen District just participated in Skills Canada. We had a couple of students in the culinary division place very high, as well as in the drywalling. So our students are doing very well in these things. And the last one, if you haven't seen it, The Music Man is coming to Saugeen Shores in 2 weeks. There will be open evening and afternoon shows. So if you haven't seen The Music Man on TV when you were a youngster, the cast at Saugeen District Secondary School will be presenting a very, very interesting musical. So get your tickets and come on down.
The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Saturday, April 27th, I did attend the pancake breakfast put on by the Port Elgin District Lions Club, and sausage and pancakes were very good. This little plug for the Lions Club. It's a really hard-working group of, not a large group, but a hard-working group of volunteers. And this is the same group that raised $100,000 for the well-used Port Elgin Splash Pad, North Shore Park, and they do a little plug for the Lions Club, but they do their Tuesday night TV bingos on East Link Channel 10. So if you want to buy your bingo cards, they'd certainly be appreciative. But I just want to say thank you to the club. They donate. They work really hard and donate to a lot of good projects in town.
Councillor Schreider.
Thank you, through you. Just a report from the Saugeen Rail Trail. So the paving project has started. That will be the paving of the rail trail from Elgin Street to the 10th concession. The contract was signed last month, or earlier this month, I should say, and they received good pricing from the contractor, and sometimes when that happens, it's a project that they can just fit in. So I was discussing with our parks manager and also our trails manager that the contractor was able to squeeze us in ahead of schedule, and they showed up a little bit early, so there might not have been the best communication there, but we're very happy that project is taking place and it's fully funded from a donation. So we're excited about that. The rail trail also hosted 2 volunteer cleanups in the last month as well, which was very successful. So the committee appreciates everybody's hard work towards that, and also their membership drive is kicking off as well. So if you are not a Saugeen Rail Trail member, you should be one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Last week, May 5th to 11th, marked Canada's Emergency Preparedness Week. We've spoke eloquently this evening about everything from our asset management plan to the individuals who provide emergency services in our community, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank all those individuals. Also, this year's theme is to be emergency ready, and I'm sure our chief would echo, and chief of police would echo those sentiments as well, to ensure you take time on this week to make sure you're prepared both in your vehicle and your home.
Thanks for that. Councillor Rich has something to say. He's banging the table.
I'm excited. I'm really excited tonight. So we're in the last council meeting, we talked a little bit about waste diversion, and I had the opportunity to do a short report podcast last week about recycling. There's apparently going to be a Ross presentation maybe about recycling at some point, and I'm going to have an opportunity to talk to a number of community groups and to all of you. So next council meeting, I intend to bring forward a little presentation about recycling, just to get it in everybody's mind and talk about what we do and why we do it, and look forward to that.
That's great. We're looking forward to that too. Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to talk about 3 things. On May 1st, Councillor Mayette and I attended a meeting at the Port Elgin United Church on housing shortage concerns. This is sponsored by an interdenominational group of Saugeen Shores ministers, and this was the 3rd in a series of meetings. I also attended a similar meeting in Owen Sound on April 13th. And through both meetings, I learned a lot about the extraordinary work that our churches do. It's often unsung and unrecognized to the general public, but they provide an incredible amount of support for people who are in need in this way, and I want to express my appreciation for that. On May 4th, I attended a wonderful fundraising concert, also at the Port Elgin United Church. Funds were being raised to support the music programs in our local schools. So the Port Elgin Community Band, the Southampton Community Band, 2 bands from Kincardine, as well as a solo performance by Josh Lesference, who is an extraordinary young musician who's graduating from Saugeen District Secondary School this year, performed. The community bands are just such a wonderful addition to the culture of our community. It's multi-generational. It's not unusual to see grandparents, parents, children performing together, and they don't get paid for it. They just do it for the love of performing and music. And as I said, this was a fundraiser to raise money for music programs in our schools. And then this past Saturday, I attended the Alzheimer's Walk at Fairy Lake to raise money for the Grey Bruce Alzheimer's Society. About 100 people participated. It was a beautiful day around our beautiful Fairy Lake Trail. And we raised about $12,000 in pledges just in our community. As well, many local businesses sponsored the event. So that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Carr. Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been 3 weeks since our last council meeting. Has been opportunities to do a lot of things. Mine has been more of a fishy theme. We had the Lake Huron Fishing Club started off by doing a roadside cleanup for Earth Day on the 23rd of April. In the rain, we picked up a full pickup truck full of garbage and trash along County Road 33 from the town line to the CAW Road. And then Tiny's Fish Fry was on the Saturday following that, where they was well attended, and they raised money for the Saugeen Memorial Hospital Foundation. I forget the exact figure, but it was in the thousands of dollars anyway. And then following that, we had 2 elementary schools come down to the fish hatchery, and these schools have micro hatcheries in their schools. They're grade 1s and grade 2 kids from Chesley and from Teeswater, and they brought all their little fish that they'd raised all through their school year with them, and then we gave them a tour of the hatchery in Port Elgin, which they were wide-eyed and amazed with, and then they took their fish along with some other fish that we threw into the pails with them, so each kid had a chance to take an actual trout or salmon and release them into Lake Huron. So it's kind of the kickoff to our stocking season, because lastly, our full stocking program starts in the next week or so. As soon as I get my license from the M&R to stock, we're going to be releasing about 75,000 salmon into Lake Huron at the various streams and tributaries along Lake Huron. So it's been a very fishy time of year. And I guess the last thing too was the fish in Southampton. We received, or actually a resident up in Southampton who is a friend of mine received a report that there were a large number of adult rainbow trout who had been trapped up in the streams and creeks up throughout Southampton and along the Clarendon culverts leading into Fairy Lake, and these fish had come up the streams to spawn, and when the water levels fell, they were trapped, and the fish were in quite a bit of distress, and a lot of them had already died, but in the culverts and the deeper pools, there was still a lot of fish, so we got a group of people together on Friday, and we went and scooped those fish and put them in coolers and Rubbermaid containers in the trucks, and we brought them down and released 60 adult rainbow trout into the Saugeen River, so that they could go back out to Lake Huron and hopefully spawn again. So it was a real fishy experience over the past couple of weeks. Thank you.
Fishy guy. Thank you very much. I just wanted, it's been a busy couple of weeks, you're right, I just wanted to make a comment on a couple of things. One thing that I wanted to do was congratulate the organizing committee of the Saugeen Shores Hall of Fame, whose induction ceremony I attended last Thursday, one of whom is the deputy mayor. And I think it's just really important. I mean, they inducted 4 really deserving people into the hall on Thursday, but it's really important. I think it's that group is just a group of volunteers from at a grassroots level. They're supported by our Rotary clubs, but really they do that all on their own and can maintain and and curate that Hall of Fame on an ongoing basis every year. And I think that's a really special thing for the community, an important thing that they do. And so I want to say thanks to that whole group, and also all of these walks and things. It's that time of year. I was at the Hike for Hospice on the 5th at the on River Street. Started on River Street, and we're just raising huge amounts of money for all sorts of great causes all over the community. Volunteer groups everywhere. I think Hike for Hospice regionally raised almost $20,000. So it's it's an exciting time of year. Lots of great stuff going on. And more of it to come in the next couple of months. And it's been extra exciting for me because we've had all this activity around universities and all these organizations coming to the community and innovation and all that. So just an exciting time, and looking forward to much more of it. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Rich. All in favor? We're adjourned. We'll reconvene at 10 after the hour.